Today, I filed a restraining order against my snowplow guy who was contracted to plow my driveway but never did it for the entire time we lived in our home. And after confronting him and telling him we're going to cancel our service, this guy loses his mind, even going as far as making threats against me and my family if we do decide to cancel his contract. And I've honestly never been more blown away by somebody's entitlement in my life. Here's what happened. Okay, so I'm going to say that today was one of the most insane days I've ever had in my life. It involved me contacting the sheriff and picking up the paperwork for a restraining order and involving my attorney, all because our snowplow guy decided to threaten me and my family. So with that intro out of the way, let's get started. Late last year, our house was ruined from water intrusion in the house. It's been a massive insurance claim, and as part of that, the insurance company has been paying for us to rent a house nearby. We moved into this place recently, and it's been great so far. One of the benefits was that as part of the lease, we would have someone who would come by to snowplow the driveway, which was really great. And the weekend we moved in there was a massive snowstorm. There were 60-mile-an-hour winds, and the driveway at our new place was snowed in. Well, the plow guys never showed up, so I basically shrugged it off, got my snowblower that we brought from our previous place, and I cleared the driveway. I messaged the owner and asked if she could share the plow guy's number so I could message him. She did, and surprise, surprise, it was actually someone we knew. This guy has a bit of a reputation, but we never had any problem with him. This is a small town after all. So I sent him a message and said that we were living at this place and that I had my trailer parked in the driveway and would need him to keep the snow banks pushed out so that I can turn it around properly. I also offered to help keep the parts he couldn't reach clear with my snowblower, since plowing around the trailer can be a pain. And by the way, this is a super massive driveway and parking area. I have 4 trailers parked and there is still tons of room. They are also parked in places out of the way of his push paths. For what it's worth, if he had said to me, "Sorry, I can't plow your driveway as it is," I would have been like, "No problem at all, I will take care of it." I had no expectations of him at all and was fully prepared to do it myself. But he said all was good and told me not to bother snowplowing, as he would be by with one of his machines to clear things up. Well, not long after, another store comes by, and 1 to 2 feet of snow have landed on our driveway, and my wife can't get out. So I got up, started the snowblower, and cleared the driveway. By the way, this is not a quick process. It takes me about an hour to do the whole thing. His employer with a loader shows up at about 10 o'clock p.m. that night, sees the driveway looks clear, and drives on by to his next stop, which is a house close by. I didn't make a fuss about it because I get it. Maybe we are the last on his route, but I can't just sit inside all day and wait. I just thought to myself, well, maybe this guy just got a freebie on me, which basically means he didn't have to do his work. A short bit of time went by and I woke up to go snowmobiling. We had a fresh 18 inches of snow on the driveway and the plow guy hadn't come along, and I had to leave at 8:15 to meet my friend at the trailhead. My trailer weighs 7,000 pounds. It's 28 feet long, it's enclosed, and it holds 5 sleds. My big truck with brand new top-of-the-line snow tires can't pull that thing up a hill in 18 inches of fresh snow. So I got my snowblower out, cleared the path from the trailer to the main road, and off I went. I got back at 4 o'clock p.m. and they still weren't there. So I cleared the rest of the driveway so I could turn around and park the trailer. And once again, their guy drove by at 10:30 p.m. at night. Now, here's where all the crazy really starts to pop off. The owner texted me today and said to me, "Do not snowblow your driveway anymore. You are taking money out of my pocket." To which I responded that I have no interest in snowblowing my driveway and would prefer for them to do it, but that I need them to come early in the morning because we work and we need to get out of the driveway and I can't get my trailer out without clearing a path. Trust me, I've tried this several times. He then called me immediately after that and everything really popped off. The phone call went something like this. This guy said to me, "You better stop what you're doing because we are contracted to plow that house and you are causing me to lose money every time you do it. You need to learn how to just deal with it when it snows." I told him I was dealing with it. If I can't get my car out of the driveway, I'm gonna clear it. I don't have time to hope that they show up. Now, during the call, he called me an awful name and said I need to learn how to drive like a man, that I should go park my trailer in town the day before, and that I was not allowed to plow my own driveway. He then told me how my house was the lowest on his priority list, but he still felt entitled to the money for the plow fees. Now, I didn't know this, but apparently his contract is a base monthly rate and a very large payment for every extra plow when the snow is above 6 inches. Our insurance pays the homeowner directly, so we aren't really aware of this. But anyways, the call got heated. He was yelling at me nonstop that I was screwing him over and how I'm apparently a jerk and I'm not allowed to clear my own driveway. At this point, I basically said that if it's such a problem, perhaps I'll just call the owners and suggest they cancel the contract. I am the one paying for it after all. Now, I do have a budget with insurance, and this is a line item. So honestly, why would I want someone plowing my driveway who's gonna treat me like garbage? Well, from here on out, it got way worse. He started making threats about how if I get the contract canceled, he's gonna come down there and deal with me, and lots of other things not worth saying corresponding to threats against myself and my family. And at that point, I ended the call. Then I immediately called the local police department. I filed a report, a case was opened, and I was referred to the sheriff's office. I also called the owners who were applauded by what had happened. They immediately sent him a note stating that he is no longer allowed to come by the property and they canceled his service. To add to this, it's not the first time he's done something like it. The sheriff's deputy is very familiar with him, as are many people in town. We also have security cameras all over the property, and we will be following up with the authorities. So honestly, with all things considered, I have definitely had a very interesting day. Wow, imagine being so entitled and so out of touch that you threaten your customers with violence, all because they said, hey, you're doing a bad job and I don't want your service anymore. Like, that's an entirely different level of crazy that I just didn't think was possible. Like, literally, all they have to do is show up early and plow his driveway and this all would have been solved. But they kept skating by and just being lazy about it, so it left the original poster on the hook to plow it himself. And it's so funny to me that this guy was like, oh, you better not plow your driveway ever again. I'm officially banning you from plowing your driveway. But it's like, buddy, what are you talking about? You can't ban me from my own driveway. That's just not gonna happen. So truly, I think the original poster went about this the right way. They got the authorities involved and they definitely did this exactly the way I would have done it. Because this snowplow guy was completely out of line and his behavior absolutely deserved to be punished. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to amithejerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. My sister-in-law is stealing from me and using her baby as an excuse. And after dealing with this for so long, I decided along with my wife that we would be kicking them out. Here's what happened. Okay, so I first want to start off by saying that all names in this story are fake. Anyways, my sister-in-law Jessica and her husband and my brother Liam are staying with me and my wife due to foundation trouble at their home. And simply put, she's been an absolute nightmare when it comes to taking things that aren't hers and brushing them off because she needs them due to her baby, who is my nephew by the name of Liam Jr. Now, there are lots of moments like this, but here are some of the worst ones. But trust me, this is a very condensed list. For starters, she took my expensive hair products that was made specifically for thick hair because, and I quote, Liam Jr. can't handle strong scents and yours are just gentler on his nose. I mean, she used the entire 16-ounce bottle of conditioner in 3 days. And mind you, Liam Jr. is only 3 months old. I also caught her trying to take the food I delivered for everybody into her room after it was delivered. I ordered almost 6 full meals to dish out for the entire house, and she was just holding this large paper bag in her room. She told me she was just sorting through it to find her food, but she was sitting down with chopsticks and the door was closed, so I called BS. She has also taken all of my snacks. My pantry has a shelf labeled specifically for me due to a mild food allergy that has all the snacks that I bought. I keep seeing her walking back and forth past my room with my snacks. If I or my wife try to confront her, she cries that she's breastfeeding and she needs the energy. Then she'll get my brother to chew me out. For the record, we do have a communal snack bin, but she won't even touch those snacks in there. She also took my gift card stash from my shelf in the kitchen and spent nearly $75 on random BS because she claimed she wanted to make the room more comfortable for Liam Jr. But I use those gift cards when I go shopping or as presents for sudden events. And she knows this, but she still took 6 to 8 different gift cards out with her. It has honestly been nonstop for the past 3 weeks, and I'm just so completely done with her. She's taken my hair ties, my shirts from the laundry, my sleeping bonnets, and my lipstick. She even took a bottle of my apple cider gummies, which I know she doesn't like because she's tried them before. I feel like she's doing it just to spite me or to assert herself, but I'm honestly considering kicking her out because at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. Before we go any further, the original poster actually has an update. They explain that they have a lot of sympathy for their family and their circumstance, but after sharing this story on the internet and getting responses from people as well as self-reflecting, they eventually realized that they need to go. Here's what happened next. Okay, so we had the talk with them about an hour ago and it went bad really fast. My brother and Jessica were screaming and Liam Jr. was crying because of all the noise, and somehow that was still my fault. They yelled for a good 40 minutes about how they had nowhere else to go and that they won't be able to stay together if I kick them out. It was hard for me, but my wife helped me with my stress. This argument was so bad because Jessica went on so many rants. She said to me, "If you kick us out, you'll never see me or my son ever again," while also saying that we would never know how stressed out she is, all because we can't have children. And she said this and many other things, along with a healthy dose of cursing. I told them that my wife and I's decision was final, and Jessica locked herself in her room with Liam Jr. My brother tried to apologize, saying that he was just stressed out from work, as well as his new baby, and that Jessica was putting pressure on him, but my wife cut him off and told him to imagine how stressed out I've been when my things went missing. He just kind of slumped in his seat, then went back and joined Jessica in the room after I denied his pleas to stay again. I heard them arguing for a bit, but only for about 15 minutes. I got a text message from Jessica's mother asking what was happening, but it wasn't hostile, so I didn't think that she had the full story. I'm debating telling her since she is technically not involved yet. I've gotten 3 or 4 similar messages from numbers I don't recognize, so I think Jessica may have told people my number or posted something online. Fast forward to today, and I had Jessica and Liam waking me and my wife up by clambering around about 20 minutes ago. They didn't say much while they were packing up their stuff, but Jessica did turn to me and say, "I hope you're happy now. Don't expect to see Liam Jr. anytime soon." And it seemed like she was going to start some kind of weird rant, but my brother just cut her off and told her to go wait in the car. He asked me if he and his family could stay if he paid back the amount of items that Jessica took, but I just flat out said no. He shook his head in a disapproving way and made a few more trips for their bags. And then that was it. They were out, and I'm surprised they left so early and so willingly, but I didn't feel good when they left. I felt awful. My stomach was in knots and my chest was burning. I should feel happy, but I don't. All I can do is worry. I just feel completely useless. I was trying to help, and now I might not see my nephew ever again. I went out of my way, and now it feels like I'm being punished. I'm pretty sure they'll try something again, but it is not my concern anymore. My brother left his spare key in the kitchen, but I'm still gonna change my locks. Jessica texted me that Liam is going to be staying in a motel near his job all the way until they figure something else out, and that she's gonna be stuck with her mother. For reference, her mom lives about 4 hours away. And honestly, all the advice I got was completely right. I just needed to have them gone, but I wish I didn't feel so bad about it. My wife has been comforting me as best as she can, and I appreciate her so much. She's been so supportive, and I'm just lucky to have her. And I just hope that things get better sooner than later. Wow, the original poster made the right decision of getting those people out. They were very clearly taking advantage of your situation, and they were obviously unwilling to get on their own 2 feet. They were terrible house guests and like roommates, and they made your life a living nightmare. So with all things considered, I don't blame you in the slightest for kicking them out, because if that were me, they definitely would have had to go no matter what. Am I the jerk for not telling my family that I could cook and letting them embarrass themselves in front of my in-laws? Because right now they're very angry with me, claiming that I set them up just to be petty. And at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. Growing up as the youngest in my family, I was often treated like I was a little princess who couldn't do anything for myself, which was aided by the fact that I was a very clumsy child, and some things took me a lot of practice and patience to get right. I was the butt of the joke, and family loved to tease me and crack jokes about the fact that I couldn't boil water, or how I was a disaster everywhere I went. They would always say I could never be trusted in a kitchen, and would need to find a man who could cook and clean for me in the future. It was something I resented, and it did make me feel self-conscious. I would try really hard to not mess up, but somehow I always seemed to. Moving out to attend college was the best thing I ever did. I met so many great people, including my husband, and I thrived in an environment where nobody was making fun of me. One of my friends was in culinary school, and she taught me a lot of cooking skills that I could use in my day-to-day life. She was really patient and suggested that I might have something like dyspraxia. She recognized some of my difficulties as being similar to her brother's. Well, sure enough, I went to my doctor, and she referred me to specialists to help diagnose me. Now, I have a milder form, which is why it was never brought to attention enough. I just looked like I was careless or clumsy as a child. I didn't see or speak to my family a lot during this time. When I did, it was awkward. My husband, who was my then boyfriend, would come with me sometimes, and he was always always so annoyed by the jokes they'd make about me. When we got married, we actually eloped while on vacation overseas with his family. It was amazing and made for a much less stressful wedding. My family and in-laws had seen each other once or twice before, but only briefly. So when my family decided they wanted to come and see me and stayed for a weekend in a hotel, we decided to host both families. And I decided right then that I was gonna cook. But we didn't announce that until my parents had started making their little jokes and crediting only my husband for the food and the cleanliness or our home. My in-laws were aware of how my family act, but even they didn't really realize how little they believed in me. My husband happily informed my family after they had really made jerks of themselves that I had cooked the entire meal and that we shared those responsibilities. He also said the same thing goes for the cleaning. Now, my family tried to deny it. They said, no, she can't do that. But my in-laws said I was cooking almost as long as they knew me, and I did a good job every single time. My mother-in-law mentioned my diagnosis, and my dad told her they thought I was just trying to make excuses. My family was incredibly awkward, and my in-laws left with a better understanding of my family and a nice dose of anger at them for how far they were willing to go to humiliate me in front of them. My family was also very upset with me for not explaining things better beforehand. Not the condition itself, but the fact that I do cook now and I could do it. They said I tried to humiliate them out of pettiness. So honestly, I need to know, am I the jerk for proving my family wrong? Because at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. Your family is so toxic, like seriously, that is insane to me. They're also just straight up bullies. Like these people want to try and keep you down and keep you stuffed in this very specific box that they can control. Like these people sound absolutely awful. Even now as an adult, like a full-grown adult, they still tried to mock you in front of your husband and your in-laws. And I know if I was in your shoes, that would be like the last time I would ever want them around me in my life. Like if you getting eloped without them being there is any indication that they are not welcome in your life, then I don't know what else is. But when it comes to the incident in question, honestly, I think you handled it perfectly. Those people deserve to be embarrassed for the way they were treating you, because they've been putting you down and bullying you ever since you were a child. And I can't believe they still keep that up even into your adulthood. So I think them getting a taste of their own medicine and seeing exactly how toxic they're being and how rude and absolutely obnoxious they are, honestly and hopefully is a really good wake-up call for how mean they've been. So truly, good for you for getting away from these people and finally breaking free from this weird shell that they've placed you in, because their demeanor and attitude towards you is absolutely unacceptable. And if I was in your shoes, I would have done the exact same thing. An entitled table that I was serving refused to leave me a tip at the end of the night, claiming that our 20% gratuity that they were aware of at the beginning of the night was way too much money and that they were never going to pay it. So me and the management team decided to call the cops, scaring this family straight, leading to them dropping the issue entirely. And I've honestly never felt better about making unpleasant people not get their way. Here's what happened. Okay, so for the first time ever, we had to call the police on a table. We have a very strict policy, 20% gratuity added to groups of 5 or larger. My last table, a family of 5, ordered margaritas with top shelf tequilas and 5 surf and turfs plus 2 appetizers and desserts. The check ended up being about $400 and the tip was around $70 in total. The oldest woman at the table insists that they are not going to pay, that a $70 tip is ludicrous, and that she's willing to leave maybe $40. After a lot of back and forth, I explained to her that we have rules, which she agreed to when she made the reservation and was reminded to them when they arrived. She insisted that she wasn't going to pay, so my supervisor called the police. In my country, we often have trouble with tourists thinking that they can do whatever they want. They were very confident and maybe thought that we were not going to call the police or maybe planned to leave before they arrived. But thank goodness we had a huge security guard who stood in front of the exit until the cops came along. The police showed up and 7 different officers ended up arriving. And let me tell you something, the face of the family was hilarious. They literally dropped the entire issue and agreed to pay when they saw the consequences to their actions. Now, I felt no rage towards the table. I was finishing my night and I could care less if they left a tip or not, but I definitely enjoyed watching rude and unpleasant people not get their way. That really is an awesome story because you know what? People like this absolutely deserve to get put in their place. They came to that restaurant, they knew exactly what was going on, and it was clearly explained to them that yes, there's a 20% gratuity fee, so you better organize your payments right now instead of trying to work around it at the the end. And I think with that in mind, it's really cool that your management had your back and they didn't let these people get away with being so stingy. Like, they knew what they were getting into. They knew this was coming at the end of the night. So it's not like they could have just planned on that and been like, okay, there's a 20% fee. We got to be careful in what we buy. So truly good for the original poster and the management team, as well as the guy working security, for making sure that these people were honest with their dealings. Because I guarantee you they would have loved nothing more than to get away with not giving you a proper tip. And that, in my opinion, would have been absolutely unacceptable. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist at the top of the description. And if you want some chill music to put on in the background, check out easymode.com. If you like Am I the Jerk, subscribe to Am I the Genius. Everything will be linked down below in the description.